Welcome to episode 20, the big 2-0. I was excited about episode 10. I'm excited about episode 20. I really wanted it to be last week, but it just didn't happen for just all sorts of holiday reasons. But this is episode 20 of Play Some D. As always, you're here with your boy, Coach D. And yeah, unfortunately, had a week off. I wanted to slide one in midweek to get 20. It just didn't work out as well as not. I had a small window last weekend to do a video, but I didn't have everything organized like I should have as far as topics and things of that nature, so I didn't have time to execute and get a video out last week. But it's probably better that way because 20 comes this week and I will have OT. OT will actually be about last week, about July 4th. So, sneak peek into the end or near the end, the end of Play Some D. This episode will be, we'll talk about July 4th weekend. So, just to kind of, random array of different things. I'll have a focal point about it, but we'll see where it goes. But that'll be over time. So I will add, I needed to add something because I think it was just important to talk about a little bit more than just 4 topics today. But for anybody that's new, this is Play Some D. Do 4 quarters, 4 random topics of news, sports, music, movies, politics, random concepts, theories, whatever you want to call it. Variety, spice of life. That is how this podcast, episodal, I'm still not saying that word right. Episodic, saga, series. Basically what this was gathered from. So this week I'll touch on, I'm going to try not to say her name much. I'm just going to say Mrs. Richardson, but Sha'carri, I believe is her name, Richardson. I'll speak on that situation briefly. I want to talk about Joe Biden's latest executive order. I'll speak about just the back and forth of critical race theory, CRT, is what it's abbreviated. I didn't know that. So, and as always, the main reason why I really wanted to do something last week is to get my NBA Finals predictions in. I originally set this up as thinking this was just going to be sports, music, and movies is what I originally thought. I think I've only reviewed a movie. I think Malcolm and Marie. I thought that would be the basis of what this was, and it just turned out to be not that. There's some weeks that I don't even do sports. So NBA Finals is what I'll be talking about in the 4th quarter. So as always, I would much appreciate it. If you like, please like the video. Comments. Love comments. And subscribe, post notifications if you don't mind. But all up to your discretion. All up to you. But I do want to get right at this finger merjiggy and hop on over into first quarter. Let's hop on over in the first quarter. First quarter. I just had to check something really quickly. And Biden signed a competition executive order. I want to say that's what it is. It's a sweeping executive order that targets big tech and aims to push competition in the United States. On the actual White House website, It is executive order on promoting competition in the American economy. The economy is booming under President Biden's leadership. The economy has gained more than 3 million jobs since the president took office. That's what's the word? That's misleading. This is after a pandemic. For decades, the corporation consolidation has been accelerating. That is facts. And in over 70% of the U.S. industries are smaller. A small number of large companies now control more of the business than they did 20 years ago. This is true in healthcare, financial services, agriculture, and more. The lack of competition drives up prices for consumers, so forth and so on. All the good stuff, all the goodies are there in the government, how they break it down. But there's a couple of the articles that I kind of, and just listen to people talk about it, but I really have no stance on particular articles. I may point out certain things, but just what I wanted to talk about it was for is that it's not a law. So that's the first and foremost. It's not a law. So there's nothing that has to be done. It's not breaking up anybody, or it's kind of just like just putting a notice out there, I guess you can say, and kind of showing that as the president, you're behind it. I had a discussion a while ago with somebody about Trump had signed something, executive order about not needing a college degree to get certain type of jobs. I said the same concept about that. Like, it's recognition. It's saying this is what I feel like should be moving forward. But that doesn't mean private companies have to go and do it. It's nice to hear it, but that doesn't mean something's actually going to happen behind it. Same thing here. It is nice to see Biden saying we want more competition. We want the little guys to fight. We want big tech not to make all the rules and make all the decisions. And that involves other things like net neutrality, which is my biggest thing. I haven't followed as much as I should, as much as I should, but that's the biggest thing. The internet is like lights, which I think most people say. It's like lights, gas. It's a necessity now. Some people don't actually. There's certain people that don't actually need it. There's certain people that don't need electricity and gas. They make their own or power their own or however. But for a majority of people, need internet. Work, communicate, pay bills. This a number of things. I mean, you could go on and on about the internet. So that was my biggest thing here is that it also calls on the FCC to restore the agency's net neutrality rules for broadband companies that would prohibit them from selectively booking, slowing, or speeding up websites. Those rules approved during the Obama administrations were pared back under Trump FCC. Reinstating the rules will now likely provoke yet another court fight on the matter. So fast lanes for Netflix and fast lanes for so forth and so on. If you pay more, it's a mixture with that. If you pay more, you can get. I wouldn't mind getting the fast lane, but that doesn't mean you slow down other people's stuff. So there's a whole different talking point, but everything should be free, fair, and honest for everybody, especially on the internet aspect of it. Now we get the competition. There's just the argument of capitalism. If you get big enough to buy everything, that's the whole point. But then there can't be a monopoly. But if you're the big dog, you can essentially pick your competition and almost regulate how they grow, how they move, and things of that nature. So is it really fair? Are you really still not a monopoly? I mean, some people argue that, but really, if it's just one of you, that takes up majority of the market, and you're just saying, oh, but there's a couple guys down there that do the same thing, but they make pennies on the dollar compared to what you make, you pretty much have a monopoly. So just a recognition to say that this administration recognizes it, wants to see some competition, wants to try to get people in the fight some more, because I mean, growing up, it was just so many different, I mean, people that control, I mean, even just TV and radio and things of that nature. There's just a couple now. I mean, the studios, as far as that we get movies from, it's a couple. Music, I think it's the big four now. I think I want to say just a couple years ago, I think it was like a big six. Now I think it's down to four. Might be wrong, it might be five, but it's still just not enough. And it's just those companies just recycling the rule, or not recycling the rules, but making the rules and dictating them. And at some point, the way it goes is that it'll be down to just two, and essentially it'll look like the government with political parties. I don't know if I talked about it on here, but there should never be two choices that we should have to pick from for leadership. You know, red or blue, Democrat or Republican. That's kind of sickening. I mean, there's no monopoly. There's competition, but you just have two choices. And I rather you kind of feel like, man, I'd rather just have one. Like, just make the choice for me. You know, it's like when you get to points where it's like you just picking the better of the worst. Like, this is the worst. These are the worst two options that I got. I just got to pick one of them. So I do feel like it's awesome to get the recognition that the president and the president's people, staff, they are talking about it, understand income, wealth, racial equality, things of that nature, and just putting the big companies on notice. I know people have a certain issue with Facebook and Amazon. The people, particularly for Facebook, Amazon, I won't say the same thing, but for Facebook's a social media app. People pick Facebook. Essentially, the people pick Facebook. And yeah, maybe they didn't know what they was getting into, and maybe Facebook, pulled the wool over people's eyes, stole, whatever, tracking your phones and pulling information to that. No, yeah, they shouldn't do all that type of stuff. But in the beginning, people picked Facebook to be their app of choice to communicate with family, friends, and whatever. People could turn off Facebook tomorrow. Some things you can't turn off. You can't turn off. You can't pick and choose where you get music from. People want to hear music. It's like my favorite artist is on Sony, so I'm giving Sony money. You can stop listening to artists, maybe steal it, whatever. But some things you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. I mean, it's some more companies that you can get your cell phone from, but really Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, right? Those are big companies that you can get your phone from. Yeah, you can get Mint and some of the other Boost, smaller ones, but they're essentially just using the lines of they're paying for the lines from those big companies. So those type of things you need, you have to have. Like I said, Facebook's a little different because people can essentially decide to turn it off, not interact with it. Get family and friends' phone numbers and just text them that way, send them pictures that way. But people communicate through Facebook. So Facebook's a tough one. But I do understand the privacy things. I'm huge on. I would delete Facebook if it wasn't for family. So I do understand that. But there are some fine lines you have to walk. But I think an executive order to say, hey, we're looking and we're watching, Silicon Valley companies, and we're watching healthcare system. I mean, I could kind of take that same avenue with that, is that sometimes you can't pick, where you're getting your prescription drugs from or what your insurance company is. You got to go with what's affordable. And you can go down the list. Ban or limit non-compete agreements that the White House has impede economic, mobile, and cracks down on big tech and internet providers, among other several provisions. So once again, it's not a law, but I think it's really cool to see it. Just like a lot of executive orders that come down from all presidents, I won't say they all have good intentions, but you can kind of see what's on their mind. They're not laws, but it's a directional step that sometimes may or may not come to nothing, and how long this takes for anything to be enacted. Like I mentioned, the net neutrality stuff will go into further courts and things of that nature. So it could be years and years and years, and it could be the next president that comes in and signs a pen that says, no, we want all the big companies to rule the world. So it's just good to see that the president has the mind of the little guy. I think it's just, to me, the little guys just showing like, hey, keep fighting. We're here to try to help out with that type of stuff too. So I think that's pretty awesome. So for quarter number 2, Miss Richardson, I'm just gonna leave it there. I've had a few people ask me about the situation, and all I can say is unfortunate. It just sucks. The fastest woman in the world currently, or in the U.S., or an incredible athlete, let's put it like that. An incredible athlete can't participate in the Olympics that she's worked hard to be at because of, I don't know. I don't know the exact details of marijuana, but if it's in your system, it's in your system. And she admitted to it and said she's not perfect and she's human and all that good stuff. And my take on it, honestly, is that she knows better. When there's levels. As all people kind of understand, or some say. When you're an Olympic athlete, you essentially need to watch what you eat, what you're near. Who you're with, who's giving you, like, it's just the way it is. You could even be being sabotaged to test positive for whatever. I don't know what happens in other countries. That may happen in other countries. We may do that to other countries, or other countries may come over here and try to do it to us. I don't know that whole aspect of it, but you have to think like that. And it's something as simple as marijuana. You're in a room, or going towards a room, or around somebody that's smoking it. You just kind of got to stay away from it. If you want to risk it, you understand what you're risking. You're risking your opportunity to go do what you need to do. It really sucks for her too, because the endorsements that she probably still is going to get, but the ones she was going to run into, pun intended, being able to run would have been really, really cool for her. I'm sure she'll be fine and she'll be all right, but you just have to know better in those situations. That's the plain and honest truth. Then you hypothetically say, man, you shouldn't ban her. I get that part too. I said it's unfortunate. But then you walk a really tightrope with other athletes as well. People that aren't maybe the best high jumper, or the best pole vault, or anything. Like, you don't want anybody going high to an event, high to practice, high to whatever, or just a little bit impaired, or just, the rules are the rules, especially when you're competing at a level like that, because yes, marijuana for sure, we all know is in a performance enhancing drug. We understand that. But there's some other things that you can manipulate the system and start to get things, as the rules state now. So if it's a ban, it's a ban. As far as changing it, I believe, yes, it should be changed. But you still have to understand, at some, way, shape, or form, you don't really want athletes impaired, especially if they're going to represent you in an Olympic sport, or even your team in general, like a football team or NBA team. You don't want that on display professionally. It's a real fine line you have to walk with that. It's just like being drunk. You don't want anybody showing up to the game drunk. Like, it's the same thing. Or coming to practice drunk. Nightlife, you hanging out, you drink some wine, have a glass of liquor, party it up, smoke, whatever. It's cool. I think that's totally fine, but you got to walk the tightrope of when and where it's acceptable. So it also looks really bad because she's a black girl. And it also looks really, really bad because she's not going to do the relay, which she would have been in time. Her suspension would have been over in time for the relay. And that's the other thing too. If you do something like that, you got to be able to accept the consequences of your actions. Sounds like she was all with that. But I don't know if she even really wanted to run or race. I'm sure she did, but I don't know any of those answers. But she should have been extended the opportunity to at least run the relay if the United States wants to compete and have a chance to win. Now, the camaraderie, and I don't know what the rules is around being a team. Do they want to keep the team together the whole time? They don't want somebody just to plop in a week or however before and get ready to run and get some chemistry with relays. I don't know how that stuff works. I never ran a relay. So that could be it too. But it's just unfortunate that it looks really, really bad because she's the best at this. And it seems like nobody that should have her back. Yeah, all the celebrities and social media and newscasters is tragedy. But the United States Olympic team organizers, they should have made sure they did whatever they needed to do to make sure she competes in whatever she's able to compete for. Now, that doesn't sound like that happens. And that's why it starts to look really bad where I get to the point earlier where you sabotage or somebody actually trying to put you in bad situations. Was this going to be repetitive? Did they not like the hair and the nails and the swagger and the moxie? Maybe not. And, who knows? You just don't know the conspiracies on that type of stuff. But that's why you have to be careful. But I just feel like I think the right people aren't standing up for her like I think they should. But I think she'll be fine. She looks like she could be a celebrity or I wouldn't say it's athlete. I mean, she looks like a good. She has all the what's the word? Not celebrity. She has all the qualities to be I don't even know the word. Like a personality, like somebody that'll be involved in day-to-day of things. I think people wouldn't mind hearing her voice and her talk about it. She could be analyst or just a number of different things. She looks like she can do a bunch of different things. So I think she'll be fine. I'm sure she's smart. I'm sure she has her everything together. So she'll be fine in that nature. But man, for her to compete and possibly win gold medals, some people don't ever get those opportunities and some people only get one opportunity. So Miss Richardson, best of luck to you, and it's just an unfortunate situation there. Halftime, I have to breeze on through this because I don't have anything going in this room and it's getting hot. No. But quarter number 3 is just an interesting topic. It's the critical race theory, CRT. The definition is a body of legal scholarships and an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States that seeks to critically examine U.S. laws as it intersects with the issues of race in the United States and to challenge mainstream America's liberal approach to racial justice. Now, the issue with what I understand it is doing is it just turns super political in the terms of school. And that's kind of how I want to speak on it. And the idea that conservatives or white people feel like they don't want it to be taught, and it could be taught as every white person is evil. It could be taught like that. They don't want that to happen. I don't think anybody wants that to happen. And then I don't think both sides understand or want to understand. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Where exactly to narrow in of exactly what needs to be taught. American history needs to be taught. And then it also comes with the branding, wording of how you say things like defund the police or I don't know. that's a good one because people argue what exactly does it means, and then you argue different points of it, just like critical race theory. Like conservatives are arguing way over here, liberals are arguing way over here, and there's people in the middle just like, hey, we want to teach American history, right? That's what you want to do. As far as where you get into the idea of programming or teaching people a certain way, that's kind of what a kid, person, family values are and what you learn just coming along with things you developed through maybe a critical race theory or American history class or African American history class, things of that nature. You learn about the situations that actually happen in United States history, because I do believe that history can repeat itself. I don't think it always does, but I think it really, really can if you don't understand it, because we're humans, and for the most part, we all kind of think, the majority of people, especially people in power, think a certain way. So things can ravel back to, power, control, and how to do that if you don't understand it. Oh, we did that before, it didn't work, and try a different way. So I do think it's very important to make sure that all children understand the situation of America. Not just America, in my opinion. I think history is super important. But I've been a kid before, and if you don't like history or you don't like science, you don't like math, you're not really trying to hear it in school. But you remember it. You remember, you may not ever take Spanish or French again, but you remember taking that class. You do remember some words. You do remember some concepts. And I think concepts are key more so than memorizing what's the state capitals and who killed so-and-so, or what city was the first slaves land in, things of that nature. I don't think, memorizing stuff like that are totally helpful, but you want to understand the concept of how things happen, what was the goal, what people went through, the human stuff. And I think that connects more than just having to memorize facts and then write them back down on the paper. So the people to understand those concepts, and it also gives a little bit of compassion behind it too, because kids are really smart nowadays. They understand that mommy and daddy didn't have slaves. They get that. That's for white kids. And black kids understand that the people that are teaching them, if it's a white teacher, was not responsible for that too. They all understand that. But it's okay to ask questions, wonder why something happened, and how to prevent it from happening again. And if you want to stop at the history of it, like, oh, that happened, then this is what came about. These were the laws that came about. This is what happened. If you want to get that little patty of information and say, okay, that's enough for me, or then you could start to peel back the layers if you want to and learn more. I think that's fair, and I think every child should have the option to know about that. That's essentially the same thing as like never being taught about debt and credit cards and even a more in-depth aspect of sex in school. Like, those are really important things that matter in life, especially if you start to care about things like that. You want to have some kind of understanding or concept about it, because I think most people, as they get older, start to care about history a little bit more because they care about theirs. It's like, man, I remember when I did this back when I was this age. And then a grandparent that you care about a lot said, well, when I was your age, this is how it was. And then you're like, what? Like, you had to go through that? And then not to ever have heard about that, I think it's even worse, because you feel like you were cheated. Like, cause why no one taught me this? Why nobody told me this? Why didn't, school is school, home is home. At the end of the day, learning things still fall in the responsibility of a school. I know people will argue that down. You only have a certain amount of hours in school, but school is just essentially like work. Everyone that doesn't come home from work does not necessarily grab a book or grab an encyclopedia and start learning words, or turn on YouTube, which is not a credible, well, some can say, but it is, but just even say YouTube. Let's just forget it. Let's just say YouTube. Turn on a a respected scholar on YouTube and listen to them talk about history and things of that nature, or science. Everybody doesn't want to do that after a hard day of work. Just like kids definitely don't want to do that after a day of school. Kids want to go out and play, release some energy. It's like, I need to relax my brain. We don't want to be beating on our heads all day. So school, if you go to school, if you're homeschool, you learn that at homeschool. If you go to school, you learn in school. For the most part, I think that's where you gather the most information. I think that's fair. Yes, do you sit down with mom and dad at home for an hour maybe before bed and talk about stuff? Do you have holidays and family reunions where, yeah, you can learn about stuff? Absolutely. But on a day-to-day basis, you go to school for most kids half the day. Most adults half the day working. We all want to let our hair down a little bit. I mean, that's just how it goes. There's a distinct few individuals that just want to consume information all the time and gather it and regurgitate it. We love those people because they keep cool stuff in front of us that we should know about, hear about, and learn about. So, yeah, that's awesome. But everybody's not like that. So whether you rename it just American history or whatever it has to be, you can call it critical race theory, and sit down and understand that something needs to be taught about America. America needs to be taught through and through, true and true, from the beginning of the gold rush in California to every other thing in between, before slavery, before that. And we talk about the dinosaurs and prehistoric man and how Earth was built and molecules, bacteria, and things of that nature. And if a kid, you get the concept of how all that stuff comes about. If you want to learn about how those molecules moved over the land or in water, and you learn about that. You peel back the onion, like I said, you peel back the layers and learn all that stuff. And I think it's fair for every single year, if you want to learn it, to the year of not just the United States, of the world, if that's how far you want to go. You should have access to that in school, especially in American schools for America. But if international studies or whatever it case may be, if you're in a cool school like that and you want to learn about ancient Egypt and ancient Africa and ancient Rome and so forth and so on, that's where you gather it from. That's where you get the concept from. And if you want to dig deeper, yeah, probably at home will probably be the case, or going to college or becoming a specialist in that avenue. But I think you have to gather the idea, the thought process, the understanding of it in American schools. So, boom. Critical race theory. Just however you want to rebrand it, history needs to be taught properly. So that's my piece on that. And then NBA Finals, which I'm kind of salty. I'm 2 games late on this, but Phoenix Suns are up 2-0. I would have talked about this a little bit differently. Giannis did get hurt, so things would – I just want to speak on how I would have spoke on this in both avenues. So Giannis not being hurt, I thought the Bucks were going to smash whoever they played. I think I said this when I originally predicted the playoffs, that whoever won the Bucks net series would win it all. If Lakers being in the finals would have changed my opinion a little bit, but I thought the Bucks or Nets that series was going to win it all. Giannis getting hurt, I originally thought once he got hurt and played game 1, once I realized he was playing game 1, I said, oh, they're going to lose game 1, and if he's healthy, they will win game 2. So I thought it would go 1-1 had he been healthy. Obviously, him not being healthy, Suns, yeah, probably in 4 or 5, probably, without him being healthy. So what ended up happening is Giannis wasn't really ready for game 1, but he was ready for game 2, and that was the game the Bucks probably should have got. They were virtually, outside of, I think, a few quarters, I felt like the first quarter of game 1, the Bucks like the best team, and then at certain points in game 2, maybe for a quarter and a half, the Bucks like the best team. But for majority of this series so far, the Phoenix Suns look like the best team. Now, they are at home. They were supposed to win those 2 games. I still think the Bucks will win the series because I think Giannis is healthy, and I don't think Chris Middleton will play as bad as he has for 5 more games, hypothetically, if it goes 7. If it goes 7, it's the Bucks for sure. I think if Phoenix wants to win this series, they have to win it in 4 or 5. I think if it goes 6 or 7, I think it is a Bucks series to win, which means they have figured something out, which means they will slow them down. 118 points in both of the games is a lot of points, and that's with Middleton playing horribly, and that's what in game 2, Mikal Bridges scoring 27 points. That's probably not going to happen again. Will the Suns get points somewhere else? Would Aiden get more points? Probably. And Cam Johnson's been knocking down threes. Will he make more points? Probably. Will Cameron Payne probably have a decent game? Probably. So it is there, but the Bucks are also there to kind of match it. So if the Bucks get a big win in game 3, if they win big in game 3, which I think will be huge, because I think every other game is so Sunday then Wednesday. So it's 2 games off. So if they win a big game 3, game 4 will be really critical, I think. And if they win big game 3, I think they win game 4. And then I think the Bucks are then turn control of the series. But Budenholzer is such a very, 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 very bad coach that he has not made any adjustments on Chris Paul or Devin Booker's. No double teams come. Brook Lopez is still on the island, and he's just kind of hoping for the best. That's kind of how he's always coached, just hope for the best. Really no adjustments to be made. I don't even think he makes adjustments to start. I think he just says man up, and then Holiday or PJ Tucker or whoever says, "Oh, I'll guard him this play," or we decide to go through the screens or whatever. Coach only picks what the screener man does, which is Brook Lopez. He only tells Brook Lopez to step up, but what Drew does or PJ does to get through the screen, that's looks like it's on them. It's hard to tell. It's just so confusing. The offense is awful. They come down and, a couple dribbles, put up a shot, a lot of ISO stuff. I mean, at one point, like Drew Holiday had took 11 shots, I think, in like a quarter in a few minutes. It's just like he just coming down, rushing up shots, is not in the flow of the offense. It's hard to make shots like that, especially in the finals when, Phoenix had days and days to look at the Bucks and figure out what they wanted to do after they won their series. Once they realized they were probably going to take on Atlanta, they had a good idea. Monty Williams is a good coach. So Phoenix is obviously in a better situation to win the series, but I do think if the Bucks figure a couple things out, because they just have better players. With Giannis healthy and Middleton and Drew Holiday playing decent, they have just better. They're just better. They have the better players, I think. In my opinion, I just think they have the better guys, even with the goons out there, the Bobby Portises and Brook Lopez. I mean, Brook's probably not better than Aiden, but they're probably watch each other. Bobby Portis is really, really solid. Jay Crowder shows up every now and again. Brent Ford is like the best three-point shooter, but when you don't run particular offense, it's hard to get him shots, to get threes like he should. Pat Connaughton's a baller. PJ Tucker can make shots and play defense. They just have a more real well-rounded team, though. But I think the Suns have a better understanding of how to win, and they have the players that can make the shots when need to be. So I think it's just a clash of styles, and which so far as Phoenix, one is look like, one will prevail. But I do, like I said, I do think the Bucks will end up winning the series still. I really, really hope Chris Paul. It's not me picking both teams at all. I really hope Chris Paul wins a championship. Rooting for him. Been rooting for Phoenix all year, honestly. I mentioned this, like, if was buds every day be Christmas and nuts is one of the sayings. But if Street Clothes, a.k.a. Anthony Davis, plays healthy, Phoenix isn't here. That's just, Also can say the same thing about Bucks. I still wouldn't say that because I picked the Bucks to win. Kyrie's healthy, James Harden's healthy. I just think it's a more rigid style of play, and I think that's what the Bucks prepared for. And I think it still probably would have won 7. Nets could have won. Bucks could have won. I think it could have won either way. But for sure, I think more so than anything, Anthony Davis plays. Phoenix is out there in 5. It just pretty much was the case there. But either way, I hope Chris Paul gets this. It'll be awesome for Phoenix. Monty Williams. And most of the time I always say, like, bad coach, you're just not winning with a bad coach. And I know if Budenholzer was on, like, any other team, I would not pick them. But I just think I do think they have better players, and that usually wins. But we'll see. We'll see. Chris Middleton can choke and continue to shoot horribly, and Budenholzer isn't going to make adjustments. So if that guy doesn't make shots and there's no adjustments made, we'll probably see a sweep, or it'll be over in 5. So that is that for the finals. The first 2 games really weren't entertaining to me, and really what I want to see is competition. I am rooting for Phoenix, but more so than anything, I'm rooting for close games. I'm rooting for excitement through and through, lead changes after lead changes, seeing what these guys are made of, and not being up by 10 points. And I would absolutely hate if the Bucks win Game 3 by 20 or 30 points. That would suck. And then Phoenix wins Game 4, and then it's over in 5, or something. Yeah, I want some competition. I definitely want to see some competition in the finals, but we've gotten competition for the most part throughout the playoffs. Not as much as I would like, but they've been decent playoffs. So beggars can't be choosers, as they say. So for OT, I mentioned that I was going to bring it, and I'm bringing it. OT is July 4th weekend, and particularly 230 people fatally shot in shootings over 4th of July weekend. 618 people injured. That's a 26% drop from the pandemic year of 314 fatal shootings and 751. Not going to talk in length about this at all because it's tragic, and I hope all those people, prayers up to all those people, fatals and injuries of like. But it's something about July 4th weekend, and I've just felt this since I was a kid. I've never cared for July 4th. Has nothing to do with slavery and things of that nature. I just thought it was a holiday for the time, 1776, when, it may be a good year or something like that. But now, the United States is the world power, and just celebrating this day just seems like overkill, and people just are at a heightened level of excitement, I think I should say. Like, people want to go buy, maybe not as much this year. I had mentioned I was out shopping with a friend, and I was like, you probably don't want to get red, white, and blue because of Trump, but if it wasn't no Trump involved, people would be red, white, and blued up, because that's how it was. When us growing up, you got red, white, and blue stuff, you mashed it out, you was ready to go for the holiday, and just woo, 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 not even United States, just enjoying July 4th holiday. Fireworks, never care for fireworks. And I just think people just rev up. I don't know what it compares to in just normal holiday weekends, which I was going to get that number, but I've already delayed big episode 20. I already delayed the episode 20, so I wasn't going to go digging anymore, because really what I want to talk about was just the unfortunate of such a, not I won't even say cool holiday, or I don't want to necessarily say it's a cool holiday, but a holiday period, a holiday weekend ending in such devastation across the United States. I mean, Chicago obviously led the way. And when I first saw that story, I thought these all were in Chicago. But 100 people shot, 18 people killed. And then just violence across America. I mean, it was the golf course thing. 2 girls, ages 16 and 17, were wounded in a shooting. That's Cincinnati. Yeah. 2 males, Cincinnati. It just, you just down the list. Toledo, Las Vegas. 2 men are dead, at least 7 other injured in shooting. I mean, I do think that day gets. I do think July 4th get people a little riled up. Now, that's just my opinion. I have no facts to back that up compared to other, weekends. But now I want to shift to the fireworks. I ain't never heard nothing like this in my life. So where I live, I was good. No fireworks up until today. I went to a barbecue, family barbecue, and it was crazy. Crazy for a couple hours. Now, hearing about friends all over the country and people all over the city, I mean, it was just crazy. A lot of people talk about the dogs and PTSD and things of that nature, but I don't even think that's the nature of the issue. Is literally just a loud noise, period. I mean, for the most part, yeah, it's cool to see a fireworks show for whatever they go for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. But I'm talking about this, we talking about for some people, extension of a whole day. Just pop, 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 bang, 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 boom, boom, boom. Is it gunshots? Is it, for some people, some people you asking, is it gunshots? Is it fireworks? You just start to get a whole different, left and right. Then you got, then you do have the animals involved and things of that nature. So I just couldn't believe what I heard for a really, I felt like a long amount of time. At one point, I couldn't even hear my cousin as I was talking to him, through the fireworks. So for some people, I mean, I was there as a kid, you're shooting off fireworks. It they could be fun, but I think it just gets old. I do think it gets old fast, and big sparkling things in the air is cool to an extent, but a couple, and it's like, oh, I've seen this movie before, seen this. So that was what kind of got me more than anything. And I think also with me not being prepared, like I said, I didn't hear any fireworks, honestly, up until Saturday. And I was at a friend's house when I heard those. So just going from being, just regular chatter, neighborhood chatter, to boom, 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 pow, 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 bow, 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 like going from nothing to that, and just such a extended period of time. Maybe that's why I was just tripping. And then last year, I don't exactly remember where I was last year for July 4th, but I don't even remember it being that crazy. I think I was out of town, so I don't think it was that crazy, but I imagine it was probably bad last year too. But obviously with the killings and, what went down last year, it looks like we're on pace to have another banger of a year of deaths and injuries and shootings in 2022. Hopefully not. Hopefully people can calm down, or maybe the police are chilling, or I don't even know. It is a holiday, right? So yeah, it's unfortunate that any holiday weekend, any person's birthday or birthday weekend or celebration, people trying to celebrate, and it winds up with a family member or a friend getting injured or killed. This sucks. But yeah, 4th of July weekend, I do think it could be toned back, because really all it is people setting off fireworks and eating and shooting. We always eat, so that's there. Fireworks, we could tone those back a little bit. And shooting, we could really cut all the shooting out for sure. That seems like that's been the gist of this July 4th weekend, as far back as I can remember, to be quite honest with you. With that being said, though, this was Play Some D, episode 20. This one was a pleasure for me. Always I've done a couple weekends. I think this may be the third or fourth weekend I've skipped. Been doing fairly well, as I always speak to about consistency here, and I plan on just keeping on doing them. Like I said, I hope to have some guests soon, just family, friends, and maybe I get lucky and whatever. But I always come after missing a week. I feel good getting out and talking about whatever I talk about. I really wanted to review Black Widow. Haven't seen it yet, but I'll probably see it really, really soon. But I probably won't end up getting to that unless next week's a dead week. Really want to get back in on some albums, which I may do some albums I was thinking about for this one or last week's. I was thinking about doing Doja Cat. Haven't been really watching TV shows, so haven't done anything on that. But I'll probably do some revisits on TV shows because I'm real big on stuff that's old that I haven't talked about here on, say, Play Some D, like maybe Entourage or Sex and the City. They're doing a reboot of that, which that may come up, and I actually probably most definitely will talk about that. I kind of want to talk about Halloween Kills a couple weeks ago. I think I almost put that in overtime, but I'll probably wait on that to talk about the whole Halloween franchise, which is a love and hate for me. I just think it's time to put it to rest. But I'll talk about that eventually. But yeah, when I come back off a week off, it's a blast. So once again, if you don't mind, sub up. Appreciate that. If you don't mind, post notifications, that like button, drop a comment, all that stuff. But until next time, as always, I holla.